Hello and welcome back to another Ronin 2072 devlog. My goodness, it's the fourth one. We're like 4 months into development, or well, 4 months and a half. Before we get into this video, I really just want to say happy Thanksgiving to anybody celebrating it. The holidays are coming up. We're almost there. I wish I could do like a Christmas update in the game, but it wouldn't really make much sense. I kind of want to do one when we release, though. Anywho, let's get right into the devlog. So, the first thing that I worked on in the past month or so is working on stealth kills. Now, as you may know, stealth is just one tiny little part of the game, and it's just a choice. We're not going to force you to do anything stealth related. You can go in, guns blazing, slashing at dudes, and you don't even have to focus on stealth whatsoever. However, it is definitely one of the choices and one of the options that you have when you're playing Ronin 2072. So, I've been working a little bit on stealth kills. It's going to be interesting because we do have to balance this out a little bit and figure out ways to make it not so overpowered, because currently it is a little bit overpowered. But of course, once we get the AI going a little bit more properly and get all of that kind of fleshed out, we should have something that's a little bit better. Of course, when you're doing stealth, you would assume it's probably the better plan of action than just going in guns blazing. Well, due to the fact that you don't notify any enemies around you. However, I think what we might do is make it so it's a little harder to do stealth kills, assuming that most of the enemies will actually allow you to kill them. Some of them might even struggle to begin with. So we want to have some of that stuff going, and of course there's going to be enemies that you won't even be able to stealth kill, things like robots and all that kind of stuff. You'll have to do some different attacks to kind of take them out. So stealth, there's a lot of work that'll have to go into it, that will probably come in the future once we get more of the AI fleshed out. Another thing we did was improve the combat a little bit. I changed the heavy attack to key press. So on the controller, it's Y, which, as you may have seen, it's actually overriding our interact key whenever we try to pick up things. So just a little bug that we'll have to fix, but nothing too difficult. The reason why I did that is because I wanted the combos to be a little bit easier to initiate. And also, I wanted different attacks for when we're in the air and all that kind of stuff. I've been looking at references of other games that have action combat, things like Nier Automata and Devil May Cry and all those types of games that I'm kind of taking as reference for our combat system, and looking into how they're doing certain things. And one of the things that I noticed is that you can basically air juggle enemies, and I think that would be kind of cool to have in the game. I don't want to do like full-on juggling enemies, but I definitely want to have a system where you can hit enemies in the air and throw them in the air and do a bunch of cool things. So that's something that we're going to try to push for. On top of that, I've been kind of planning out a lot of things in the hack and plan, and that's something I'll talk about in a few minutes. I've been planning out a lot of things in terms of how I want to do the combat, because as you may know or may not know, the combat right now is super work in progress. It is bare bones. It is just the bare beginning of our system, and it's nowhere even close to done. So it's something that we have to kind of flesh out, and I'm kind of awaiting animations. So once we have animations and combo animations, I can get some really cool stuff going. That's probably going to be the job for the next month or two, is fleshing out the combat and making sure it's really satisfying and fun. Another thing I did, which is a cool little effect on the side, is wall marks. Whenever you hit the wall, you have these kind of slashing marks of like heat. And of course, these aren't even finished. I want to get even more things in. And it's just these little tiny details that kind of make it really fun to hit things. Of course, in the future, I want to be able to actually slice into objects that are thin and stuff, and slicing them in half and all that kind of fun stuff. And of course, even dismemberment. When you kill an enemy, you might have a chance of actually completely slicing them in half. So those are little things that I do want to get in the future. I think it'd be super sick, slicing some dude in half, or slicing robots and seeing sparks come out and all that. So that's going to be really cool. I'm excited to get that into the game. Another thing that's kind of behind the scenes is we have some new organization in our hack and plan, basically a task management site for our game. we have completely changed everything. We made it way more organized, so everything is in their own little spot in terms of systems. As you may know, we're super focused on combat right now rather than movement. Movement is going to be the thing that we'll focus on right after our combat system is good to go. Usually you would think it's like the other way around, but I think getting the combat out of the way as soon as possible is kind of the more important thing, because I feel like people are going to be doing that a lot. They're going to be playing around with the combat. They want it to be satisfying, and it's super bare bones. While our movement is kind of like placeholder, it works, but yeah, we're still going to work on that. The wall running and all that is super placeholder. It's super janky and gimmicky, so it is something we're going to be working on after our combat, but we want to make sure the combat is at least fleshed out to like 80%. So yeah, the hack and plan kind of helps us organize everything. It helps us know, okay, hey, these are the systems that we have to put into place. You know, slash marks, things that are cosmetics, things that are like aesthetic, visuals, and then separating different combos into different tasks is really nice. This is kind of more of a developer thing that would interest developers rather than players of the game, but we kind of want to have some of that behind the scenes in the devlogs. Another thing that I did, which is just one little small step into, you know, making our movement super fun and you get to kind of put things together, is surge dash sliding. So every time that you surge dash and then you slide right after or while you're surge dashing, you'll kind of slide further, kind of giving that momentum feel. And these are just things that, it's just one little thing on top of many other things that'll be coming in. Something that I want to do as well is when you jump after sliding and you're kind of having momentum, you'll jump farther than typical. So these are just little things that I think make it really cool and kind of add more variety to the movement, and people can kind of combine these things together to run around the world more fluently than someone who's new to the game. And I think that's the coolest thing, is learning new movement and kind of being better than new players. That's what everybody really wants with these types of games, is the ability to improve as a player. Another thing that I worked on is the city and kind of changed it from the ground up. Instead of it being a city that's on the ground, it's more of a floating city using anti-gravity. That's our current thought process for the lore. I don't know how it's going to go. All we know is it's a city in the sky. And something that I worked on is one of the point of interest, which is a large bank, which is basically the global bank of the world. Essentially only one bank in the entire world. There's no more competition in terms of banks. There's just one monopoly that controls all currency. So this large bank would have a lot of rooms, a lot of offices, a gigantic vault. We are going to have an interior on it in the future, but right now what we have so far in terms of exterior is a little parking lot. We have a security area in one of the corners. We have an electricity area. We even have like a helicopter pad or a VIP pad that would bring in money and all that kind of fun stuff. And the nice thing is that we can have all of these things as a potential contract spot. So if we wanted to, we could have a gigantic mech, which would be a boss fight or your contract that you have to actually assassinate in the courtyard where all the holographic trees are. Or we could have it so the contract is currently in the parking lot moving upwards. So the cool thing is we do want to have active contracts where the contract is actively moving, living in this world. Whereas instead of just an enemy that's just sitting there doing nothing, I feel like it would be way better if the contract is actually doing things, actually lively, and it's somewhat changing your playstyle, and you kind of have to, I don't know, get information on what's going on when you get to the contract. I think it'll make it way more exciting and also more random, which roguelites are all about randomness. On top of that, we even started a little bit of our contract interface. I just got a little section in there and kind of blurs the background. Some cool stuff that I want to have in here, so if you don't know how I want to get the game going, is I want things like a mugshot or kind of like little shot or a screenshot of the contract that you're going for, and then some descriptions and stuff so you can kind of figure out who the enemy is if you're from afar and somehow, I don't know, using binoculars or something. That might be an ability. Who knows? I don't know. So these are all things that would get in here, and it would also show your previous contracts if you're like on the second or third contract throughout the night. So these are all things that I kind of want to have in this interface, and it kind of shows you your progression throughout your playthrough, which I think is super cool. It kind of gives you a little memory of what's been happening throughout your playthrough. Another thing I added in on top of the movement system is a ladder system, which you think about it, it's like, oh, hey, it's a ladder, it's nothing enormous, but there's quite a bit that goes into just with this one little tiny prop that'll kind of be scattered around the world. The cool thing is you'll be able to interact with the ladder while you're falling and all that kind of fun stuff. So you can kind of combine wall run into a ladder. And then the other thing I want to do is make it so you can jump off of the ladder and start going into a wall run. So it's another little added thing on top of, the jump board and the zip line. That's it for this devlog, though. Let me know if you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video. If you're really interested in the game, we do have a website now, so you can see a little bit more info on it. It is down in the description, or it's ronin2072.com. It kind of redirects you to our proper website. I hope you have a fantastic evening. Yet again, happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you in the next video.